But at what point in your story did God show up, and was it or was it not right on time?
Doesn't she try? It's my best friend. 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 Doesn't she...
Okay. So now I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible, but I'm gonna put the details in that needs to be in.
No,
right?
Don't make it quick.
No, but
We
I'm
got
just
time.
saying, right? Okay, so in this moment of crying out to God,
Yeah.
and I feel like it probably very well may have been months.
Yeah.
That I was in my room, like, what is happening? Like, stuff. I was still going around him and still doing stuff with him, but I was checked out.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want to be here,
Yeah.
but I'm just here.
Yeah.
Like, it was that, right?
Right.
So one night, my parents was having a conference. What's the conference called?
It was the Destiny Gathering.
Destiny Gathering.
What was that? 2000 what?
Because Carson was like, was he 1 or 2? Nope, he wasn't 2. He was either he was about to turn 1 or he was 1.
2000.
Because he was born in 2015. That was probably in like, no, matter of fact, that was 2017. That's when I first got reconnected back with my man. So
Your husband.
My husband. But okay. So yes. So I was like, I think something happened at work. I was working in retail at that point. Something happened at work, and because I was like, I can't come that weekend because I have to work, and I was in management, so I was like, oh shoot, I ain't gonna be able to make it. Something happened, and I'm not gonna. Something happened with it was God, right? Made it to where I can go that Friday night. I think it was a Friday night when she came.
Yeah.
Okay. So that prior night, right, and then that whole day, it just felt like eerie. I had an eerie feeling, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, God, and these are my exact words. Because I would never forget.
Wait, let me ask you a question. You say eerie. Was it like, because they may not know, but I know that you are very much prophetic. So, okay. So with that, when you say eerie, does that mean it was more so of like your spirit was disturbed, or you felt like you were uneasy because you felt like something was about to happen, but you didn't know if it was good or bad?
I feel like it was a combination of all of that. Okay. And I only say that because of what I prayed.
Right. Okay.
My prayer was, God, I ended up going, was able to go, right? So my prayer was, and I knew Connie Williams, she's amazing. Amazing prophet. Amazing. Right? But I knew she was going to be there.
Right.
And I said to God, mind you, I had been praying and asking God to help me get out of this situation, and God, all this, right? And I said to God, God, if you don't have her speak to me personally during the service, I don't want to live anymore. So after that.
Oh, sis, don't start.
I'm just going to end it all.
Yeah.
That's what I prayed.
Right. Ooh.
And go through whole service. I sat over, like I was in the front, but kind of not in the front. And me and Carson was sitting over to the side. And I specifically remember her speaking, and she kept grazing her eyes at me, right? And so I'm like, okay, she about to come over here, right?
Yeah.
You know how everybody be like this. Yeah. But she grazed over there. Nope, not me.
She talked to me that night.
I know.
Yeah, because I was pregnant.
Went over there.
Yeah.
Talked to that person. Went back there. And this went on. Right? Then she got done.
Yeah. Service was over.
She got done. Mind you, what I just said.
Right.
So when I tell you, I felt like, wow. Like, God, what?
Spirit was crushed.
Because I was like, did you not hear what I said?
Right.
I am about to end it all.
Right.
Child or no child, right. I don't deserve to be here.
Right.
I mentally cannot do this anymore. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm packing up my stuff. I'm like, okay, well, that's it. packing up my stuff, me and my son. I'm walking out. You know, my dad had took her and some of the other prophets that came in his office. Okay, well, so I'm walking out. I go to the foyer, but God, can I say this?
So that night after church, of course, as everybody knows, after church, you're gonna stand around and talk.
Mm-hmm.
This particular night, I didn't know that you had prayed this prayer, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that you were struggling the way that you were.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know. I could see a difference in you, but I did not know that it was this bad, right? So I remember that particular day. It was just like the setup of it all was as if God had literally ordered your steps so that because you were at the door when Dad
That's
came.
what I'm about to tell you.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm trying to say it from my point of view because I don't know what was about to be said. I just know that you had a baby and that was the segue. Mm-hmm. Karsten, the same one that you were like, I don't know. He was the segue.
I didn't even think about it like that.
Because I was pregnant, but they didn't say, "Come, you're having a baby." No, but Karsten was the segue that God used to open the door so that Dad can say, "Hey, Mercedes, come here," so they can meet Karsten.
Right.
It wasn't come talk to you because you had met her before.
Right.
It was come here so she can meet. So Connie and them can meet Karsten.
Mom came to the foyer, and I literally was getting ready to push the door.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You were literally at the door.
She said she came around. She said, "Mercedes, I was looking for you. Connie want to meet Karsten. Want to see Karsten?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I went in there, and immediately, right, I can see. It's like God. If y'all would have been a fly in the room, I walked in and she was sitting. It's the door's here. She was sitting in a chair right here with her back towards the chair. And I walked in and she instantly grabbed my hand. And she said to me, after, of course, they say, "Oh, hey, Kristen." And so she grabbed my hand and she just looked at me. Tears started filling up in her eyes. And she said, "You know, I was looking at you the whole service." That was the first thing in my mind. I was like, wow. So God, I initially said to myself and in myself, God, you did hear me. You were hearing me.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Because you said to yourself, okay, God, I guess she's looking at me, but she's not saying anything.
Right. And so I said, and so she grabs my hand and she says, teary-eyed. Now mind you, my mom and my dad, they knew about my situation, but they didn't know the severity of what I was going through.
Right.
Nobody in that room knew.
Right.
No one. So it's not like, oh, your daddy probably told her. Da, da, da. Nobody knew. Right? She grabs my hand and she says, crying to me, "My daughter took her own life because she was in the same situation you were." I broke down immediately because I just was like, God, you heard me in my room by myself that night. And I said to myself, God, you are so real. If I never, ever thought you were real, God, you are real tonight. Mm-hmm. And she says to me, every single thing that I had prayed in my prayers, I want to get away from this. She was telling me who I was and who God has told me I am. She was just going in. And then the other prophets that were in there were saying, you know, that person tried to isolate you and make you feel like this and make you feel like that and get you away from your family and get you. And I was like, what? God, only you knew this. Nobody knew this but you, God. That girl, that had me on my knees. And y'all heard it out there.
Listen, when I tell you, I was just thinking about that because we had no idea as we were standing in the foyer what was going on. We just thought it was, come here, Connie want to meet the baby. And within probably 15 minutes, probably not even that, we heard a loud screeching yell and I knew it was you. And I knew, the only thing I knew was I knew that y'all had been having issues, but I didn't know the severity of them. I didn't know that I didn't know about the mental abuse and the emotional abuse. I didn't know that. So for me to hear that, I automatically knew that there was something that was breaking because you sounded like you were giving birth. That's what it sounded like. And when I tell y'all, she probably don't realize how long they were in there. But they were in there probably like 2 or 3 hours.
Because it didn't seem that long.
And the whole time, they probably were just pouring into
They were. They told me everything that God had showed them that I was going through. Literally everything. They literally were saying to me, yes, you were in your room praying to God. Like things that I was like literally on the side of my bed or laying my pillow drenched with tears because I am struggling to get out of, I am over it. And when they said those things, but then they said, and I had just started reconnected back with my now husband. It was said,
my brother Larry.
It was said by one of the other prophets. He said, that person you were with was not able to hold doesn't have the capacity to hold you, right? And what God has placed in you. But this next person, which I know you already have. Now, mind you, I didn't know that nobody knew that, you know? This is going to be the person that's going to be able to handle everything God has put into you. I didn't know that, sis. And everything that person's going to have the capacity for it. And he's going to love your son as if he is his. Wow. And he does. That's what I'm saying. That was my experience. From that moment on, I said, nobody can tell me that God is not real. Nobody can tell me that God won't do it. And I am all for, it's not going to happen in your timing.
Listen.
But it's going to happen in God's timing, and the timing is always perfect. Always perfect. God has intervened on my behalf. That night, I wouldn't be sitting here.
No. You wouldn't have Larry. You wouldn't have LJ.
I wouldn't have the things that I have been blessed with. Because I was down to the point where after that relationship, I was really like, after this, I ain't dating nobody else. Because, you get scarred or you like, I don't even want to have to deal with that again. Like, I don't even want to have to figure out if this person is going to be somebody I could be with. And they'll try to do the same thing that this person did to me. And I don't want to mentally go through the same thing again.
Yeah.
But when I reconnected with my husband now, it was genuine. It was really like simple. It was smooth. And don't get me wrong, we're not perfect. We're not a perfect couple. Right. But it's what I needed.
Yeah.
And it's what my son needed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So can't nobody tell me God ain't real. My experience. That's why I love God the way I do. That's why when people, it's just something. And then I just love talking to people about my story because, especially young girls.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're always drawn to me. And I'm like, oh, well, God, am I supposed to? Yes. Right. And like, even now at work, they come to my cube, they talk to me, they want my opinion and my advice. And I'm like, well, y'all, I ain't no therapist or nothing, you know what I'm saying? But I always tell people, I'm going to give you my honest opinion.
Right.
God is real.
Yeah.
God is so great and so good and so real. And I owe my life to him. I would never not love God. I would never not worship God because he deserves everything, every piece of me.
Every part.
Because I am so very thankful for where he has brought me from. And that is, for me, a mighty long way.
A mighty long way.
When I even talk about those moments and those times in my testimony, I always still get chills. It's never going to make me feel like, I don't know, but I always get chills because I was like, and then when I tell people that, they're like, oh my God. They're blown away. They're like, you really said that? that really happened? Yes. It sounds like a movie, don't it?
Yeah.
Sounds like I made it up.
Yeah.
Did not.
Oh no, you didn't.
That was my life story. That's my testimony. And if I can tell that over and over again just to help somebody else come out of the situation I was in, I'm going to continue to do that.
You better preach.
No. I'm going to continue to do that. I'm just saying.
Oh God.
But yeah, so like, and I feel like I've been in a place where before we even started this podcast, I've been in a place where I'm like, I want to tell more people my story. And then, of course, God, He does hear me because we're doing this now and everybody's listening.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's amazing though.
And even people who don't know what I had to go through are like, oh my God. What?
Yeah. But I think it's amazing because I think that we don't realize how God puts things together in the right and appointed time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like we say like, oh, He may not come when you want Him, but He always on time. No. Do you really know what that means?
I really know what that means.
He may not come when you want Him. You prayed to Him for months. He may not come when you want Him because He knew that I know what you're about to say. He knew that if He had come to you in your room, that it would not have the same effect on your life as it would have if you were in the council of mighty men and women who you knew had the power of God in them, who you knew were a mouthpiece of God. He had to put you in that situation because of your state, because He knew that Him talking to you in the state that you were in your mind, that you weren't strong enough to do that. He needed people around you that would not only speak into where you are, what happened, speak where you are, but also tell you where you're going. Right. Because you needed all of that to heal. You needed all of that to move forward because He knew you would stay stuck. Right. And so I think that sometimes we don't even realize how God will begin to put things in place. And I'm sitting here, as you was talking, I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, God, let's be real. Yeah, Connie was on the lineup for speakers, but I know without a shout of a doubt in my mind, she was put on there and it was God designed because she was supposed to come for one person and one person only, and that was you. She said a lot of things, and everything she said came to pass. She prophesied Kinsley, all of that. You know what I'm saying? But that was my confirmation that night that I believed that God was going to do it. That was confirmation. But when it gets to the nitty gritty of life or death.
And then now that you said that, she specifically said to me, when she said, I kept looking at you, she said, what I had to tell you, God didn't want it in front of everyone to know. So that's why it happened back here.
So she had a word for you.
She knew that. And she said, that's why she kept looking at me. She said that's the reason why she said that God told her to hold her tongue until afterwards. Just for little old me.
But that just shows us
that God
loves His love. His love. His love. But just think about it. Think about His love when it comes to not just that whole situation, but leading up to that. How He allowed God, how God allowed dad and mom to show you a love that you didn't feel like you deserved. And how even through the midst of everything, even with the stereotypes of what people could have said and what they could have done, they still loved you and adored you while you were pregnant. The people who you thought would have shunned you or turned their back on you, turned their nose up at you, they showed you love. And then even up until the point where you had him and you were still going through what you were going through, and God says, I'm not done yet. I still got love for you. I'm going to show up for you because there's more for you to do. I have more work for you to do.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
And then
who wouldn't serve a God?
Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, but
sorry. Ooh, Jesus. But who wouldn't serve a God like this?
Oh.
Who would not serve a God? Between you and I, between you and I, our stories, we should either not be here today or we should not have the lives that we live.
Tell me about it.
God has shown up for us numerous times and showed himself strong in our lives over and over and over again. And so I thank God for God preparing my family and ordering their steps the way he did to put me in this family, to prepare me for the journey that I had ahead of me that I didn't even know what I was going to do.
I didn't even know.
But because I know God, because I had a relationship with Jesus for myself. And guess what?
For
even
yourself,
if you didn't have a relationship with him, at some point something happened. That made you rely on God.
It did.
Yourself.
Myself. Because nobody else knew. Nobody knew. Nobody else knew what I was going through. And it's crazy because half of that stuff I didn't even tell you. And we were like,
I did not know that. I didn't know half of this. And that's why I said when we start this podcast, I had already told you that when I feel like when we start this podcast, that there are going to be things
that we don't even know about
each other. Yeah. There are going to be thoughts that we don't know that we had. There are going to be, places that we've gone that we probably don't know we've been. Yeah. And there are going to be things that come out that we are like, what?
Right.
But I feel like that's just reassurance for us that God has prepared us to walk this walk. And even with the stereotypes, even with what they say, even with what they think, even what, with how the world tries to put a muzzle on us and make us feel less than or invisible.
Right.
We have a story, and the story that God has given us, he has prepared us with, is a story that's going to change so many people's lives.
So many people.
Because there's so many people that can relate to us.
Yes.
That we are very much relatable.
Yeah.
So just think about it. Baby out of wedlock. Lesbian. I was a lesbian. And I lived that lifestyle for 10 plus years.
Don't tell me that ain't God.
I was told that I would never have children. At 18, they told me to have a hysterectomy.
And you have 2.
I have 2. Delivered by the same doctor that told me that he was going to have to do the hysterectomy. You can't tell me that we are
God
not
has
prepared.
A sense of humor.
He has a sense of humor.
So you said what you said about my daughter?
Oh, okay. You said she needed what?
She can't do what?
Okay, I'm gonna make sure that you're the one that delivers them.
You're gonna be on, even if you weren't gonna be there, you're gonna be on call.
Yeah.
You're gonna do this.
You're gonna do this.
Yeah.
And he did both of them.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm just saying, like, I really hope and pray that when we begin to tell our stories, and you told yours, and I know there's more to your story, but as we begin to share our stories and the things that we've gone through and our journeys, that people can actually see, dang, they made it out.
Made it out. And
that don't mean that we made it.
No.
We made it out of those things. And that gives us reassurance that anything that we come up against is not too big for the God that we serve.
Nothing's too big for him. Because my God is a big, big God. He's bigger than any and everything. Any and everything.
Greater, sorry.
Any and everything.
Any and everything.
And so, enough of my tears. I think like you're going to just throw that in there and we not talk about it. I'm going to have a question and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess we still kind of talk about stereotypes,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
So, you said that you were a lesbian.
Yes, I was.
You lived a homosexual lifestyle.
Yes, I was. I did.
We already know that that's, like you, because you mentioned it earlier. That's one of the things she a PK, they're going to be either this, that. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Here it is. Here's the question.
Okay.
Did you feel, in that moment, did you feel like, it's going to be a 2-part question.
Okay.
In that moment, did you feel like you, did you feel like you were doing the right thing? Or did you feel like how I said I felt? I'm going to rebel, or was it more so of really a state where you found yourself in and you really thought that that was who you were?